Asking for it. A novel approach. Episode 6. Chapter 19. At the Edge's bedside, in a pale institutional green room, a strange collection of visitors have congregated. It's something of a send-off. Sunlight penetrates between slats in the window blind. A digital chiming down the hallway persists, soft but eventually maddening. Lance looks on from the doorway as first Michaela, then Dick and Brandy each step up to the bedside and touch the fighter's hand, smile sympathetically and shuffle on. Most strangely of all, Teddy even places a little peck on the fallen fighter's cheek. Everyone has paid their respects. Brandy is texting in one corner. Dick has broken out sobbing and throws himself over the Edge's inert form. The casualty stirs and looks directly into Michaela's eyes. "My God, you'd make an awesome naughty nurse." The digital chiming signals landing preparations. The stewardess poking her in the shoulder. The sucky AC and her sweaty seat all have Michaela waking in a fighting mood. The Edge's amiable expression is bent her way. She swipes damp hair from her eyes and sits up straight, hunting for her seatbelt. "So, Sleeping Beauty, you ready to conquer the Boreal Mail?" "The what? Fuck are you talking about? Where's my beer?" "The Borealis. Vast subarctic forests covering much of the lands north of the territorial US of A." "Not too chatty, please. A minute ago I was fast asleep. You were dead, and it was much more peaceful. Where the hell is Abiarty again? Ahead of us or behind? Bet the only reason he didn't book on this flight is so he could go first class without us seeing him. Jesus, now I can't shut up. The hell you getting me into here, Edgy? Remind me. Oh, I'm gonna make Abiarty pay." "Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he already is." "Ha, ha," and here she backfists him lightly on the lips. "Ha. Hey, don't shoot me, I'm only the chaperone. Oh, you are both so high on my shit list." The limo in from the airport. Toronto's sprawl reminds Michaela of driving into Atlanta. Same ugly concrete landscape, not a landmark for miles. Her mood lifts when they get off the expressway down by the lake shore. Lake is big enough. Basically looks like the sea. Long strip of grassy parkland with what? Geese? Yeah, geese all over the place. Then city center, the big tower thingy. Big mushroom of a domed stadium under it as they pass by. Countless condo towers bristling with construction cranes. So this is Toronto, Canada. By the time they've checked into their hotel and gone out onto Queen West, the strip that Lance recommended, Michaela has been flirted with so often she wonders if someone stuck a "kiss me" post-it note right on her butt. The guys are all polished, preppy types with their noses down, texting hard. All of the women who aren't in the same mode, half have got to be gay. Way too many big goofy smiles. Teddy would absolutely love this place. They pass a big Gothic sandstone old city hall and a 1950s concrete spaceport new city hall. A few more blocks strolling and they choose a place called the Queen's Head for a beer. Sure enough, the waitress is covered in tattoos and her welcome speech full of innuendo. She sneaks about 7 good looks at Michaela's legs before she takes their order and heads off to the bar. Michaela surveys the other patrons as Lance reminisces about fighting here under wraps, MMA not even legal in the day. The button-downs have been displaced by bearded hipster guys here, also plastered with tattoos, but they don't undress her much. Most of them have this cute puppy look to them, eyes mooning around at whatever happens to be on their table or passing the barroom's big picture window. Quick, discreet looks to other patrons around them. smiling at nothing. Damn, there are a lot of goony people in this town. 3 hours and a little rest in their rooms later, Michaela and the Edge head out for the evening. They're on their way to meet Abiarti. They give their cabbie the fanciful address that Lance has provided, the bridle path. "Oh-ho, Ochin Horror Show," he replies. "Pardon? Russian." The cabbie grins into the rear view as they forge into dense downtown traffic. Within several minutes, aggressive driving, the concrete of downtown Toronto recedes, and it's replaced by mansion homes on sprawling lots. Venerable shade trees, oaks and maple, chestnuts and elm, spread massive limbs out over the street. Put up a few more ornamental fences, plant a bunch more flowering shrubs and trees, you could just about mistake the place for the Garden District in New Orleans. Paint it white and it could pass for old Charleston. It's dusk. There's no jasmine or bougainvillea on the air, but it is lush in its own cool, spectral way here. Audis outnumber the Hondas lining the curbs for a while before they find bridle path and street parking disappears altogether. The Russian cabbie cranes his neck, examining individual estates while cruising confidently up the path. Using some cab driver's calculus, he identifies a numberless, open-gated, 7,500 square foot monolith. Acres of gently sloping slate roof over 3 stories of rough-hewn limestone block. It's dusk, and they pay the cab and climb out. The urban center thrum is barely audible here. Yellow light streaks out through the many beveled facets of old-school multi-paned windows, each course topped by what looks like coats of arms or scenes from fairy tales done up in stained glass. Ancient flagstones curving between tastefully illuminated rock gardens lead them up to a checkerboard terrace and a pair of imposingly large oak doors atop the broad stone staircase. There is no doorbell. The Edge gives one of the big doors a couple of discreet taps with a bronze gargoyle larger than his fist. The doors open inward an instant later. There is no one within the darkened vestibule revealed. Presently, a light comes on behind some inner doors glazed with more of the quaintly beveled, leaded glass panes. A figure approaches from the other side and opens to them. Simultaneously, a hefty iron lantern lights the vestibule from many feet above. The man is small, 5'3" or 4 inches. Waved and graying hair, gray linen shirt, and loose black cotton pants. Lived-in leather slippers. He squints a little, smiles expectantly. "Is there something I can help you with?" Before they can formulate an appropriate response, the man's smile broadens, eyes lighting with recognition. "Oh, do forgive me, please. I seldom receive guests here at the door. The Edge, and you are the most lovely Michaela. I am sorry I see next to nothing these days. Please, come in. Now, my glasses, where the devil are they?" Still waiting an opportunity to return the greeting, Michaela and the Edge follow the excited, chattering man into the house. "You must be wondering why on earth Lance asked you to arrive unaccompanied. Unforgivable. Alas, well, their progress is rapid as they traverse a stately sitting room, lit only by the remains of the day outside the ubiquitous multi-pane windows. Overstuffed leather seating, wine-red deep-pile rug, and a forced canopy of unlit chandelier. At the far end, the diminutive man leads them on and out again through French drawers. "I apologize for this improvised reception. Our little entertainments are risque enough to warrant discreet presentation. This evening's fare is set to begin. Thence we hasten. Our Mr. Abiarti is of the opinion that the world is ready for the dark pleasures of domination. And now I've beheld the divine Michaela myself, I must say I heartily hope that he is right. The host turns to emphasize the enthusiasm of this compliment with an eyebrows-high look of unadulterated glee. He has somewhere found his glasses, and they magnify an emphatic pleasure in the creases at the corners of his eyes. He leads on along a wide corridor decorated with carved wooden-framed paintings, landscapes only just discernible in the dusky light. He halts and shakes his head slightly. "Do you know, I don't believe I've introduced myself." "No need. Jim's with an S, Streetheart." Michaela manages to interject this, to her host's evident delight. "You know, Mr. A didn't give us the clearest idea of what we were up to here tonight." "Ah, and here I am unwittingly adding to the suspense. I beg your forbearing. I shall presently very humbly offer you a taste of the house's specialty. Here we are. You see, at a certain point our cellar grew so popular, I felt a more capacious space was in order." Jim's Streetheart opens a door on their right, and they step into a spacious garage. They pass an old-fashioned convertible. It looks more like a wingless airplane than a car to Michaela. An equally antique Rolls-Royce is parked alongside, sloping haunches lost in shadow, bulbous chromed headlamps glinting. They follow their host around the antiques to a golf cart parked near the roll-up garage door, which rises silently and dutiful at their approach. "I'd take us in the rolls, but to be frank, it's a pain to get the blasted thing going half the time." They clamber into the golf cart and zip silently out into the now darkening grounds. "Some time ago I had them excavate, and ever since guests, well, they need to arrive by car." They cut across a swath of lawn, silvering with dew, weave between several mature fir trees, and approach a paved drive crossing their path. The blue-tinted headlights of a late-model car swing up the drive from their right. Rather than letting it pass, Jim's Streetheart surges out of the dark into the drive, cutting off the sleek black car. He cackles with glee as the car brakes hard to avoid them. In its headlight beams, Jim's gives a jaunty little wave and leads on. "Our friend Lance Abbiati. He's far too fond of his automobiles. No wonder he never brings a date. Probably bores the poor girls to death." Is there something meaningful in the brief look he turns to Michaela? It's too dark to tell. A broad horizontal stripe of gray appears across the drive. It thickens upwards and down as they near it. The concrete maw of an underground parking entry is opening before them, lit discreetly from within. They glide down the gentle concrete slope. Lance follows them down and in. Michaela can just make out his toothy grin behind the tinted windscreen of the Panamera. That slope levels. They turn a corner and find themselves parking with another dozen vehicles, mostly European, clearly high-end merchandise. Greeting Lance with a hug performed on the tips of his toes, Jim's Streetheart beams. "Had your bit of fun, have you? How dare you send our guests ahead of you?" He then indicates a heavy, dark, wooden door set in the wall close by. "Again, my friends, I apologize for our haste. Will you do us the honors, Lance?" Abbiati approaches the door, enters a numeric code on a keypad next to it, and with a little flourish stands to the side as it swings inward. A largish, dark, and empty space. To the left and right of the door, people in banked theater seating. The subdued lighting fades away altogether as Jim's indicates seats, and they settle in. A miniature pony waddles out of the dark, long fringe of blonde mane obscuring its eyes, back bowed under the weight of a portly cowgirl. Big red curls splash out from under her big white Stetson. The pony rears up, performing an unlikely pirouette on its stubby hind legs, while the cowgirl circles a lariat above her head and whoops with glee. The pony comes back to all fours, hooves sliding, legs splaying dangerously close to horizontal under their cruel burden. Cowgirl lets the lariat sail off out of sight, her bounty barely restrained within a red and white checkered shirt and short denim skirt. She leaps up to stand on the diminutive saddle. Her spangled red cowboy boots barely find purchase there. In an exaggerated clap, she brings her hands together before her bosom, encouraging the audience members to join in. The room seems to applaud the decline of the pony's fortunes as it gradually subsides further and further beneath the bouncing apple-cheeked entertainer. The spectacle's camp animal cruelty is wearing thin for Michaela when the little exhibition vanishes. A logo impression, all that is left, indelible in the dark. The lights come back up on a parking lot, or rather, sunlight glints over the chrome features of a 1970s vintage muscle car and an even older VW microbus, parked against a red brick wall. Evidently, they are looking at screened projections, however realistic. A small group of very high-def, short-skirted, and white-shirted private school girls congregate at the car's rear bumper. Their conversation is indistinct, punctuated by occasional giggles, exaggerated groans, and OMGs. 3 of the girls jump up to sit on the car's shining red trunk lid. One of them is blonde and ponytailed, one brunette with a stylish updo and wearing glasses with bold black frames. The third, a heavily set girl, sports dramatic eyeliner and a henna red bob. The other girls part to flank this trio. A young man wearing shorts, sneakers, and nondescript t-shirt ambles across the pavement before them, carrying books in a loose armful. "Hey, what you reading? You know this one?" The blonde pitches a book of her own onto the ground before the youth. "It's called Divas and Dorks. You heard of it?" The youth has stopped before them without yet saying anything. "No? Well, you look so smart, too. Well, here, let me educate you. That could be fun, right? Go ahead and pick up the book for me, okay?" The kid smiles and shrugs, bends to collect the book from the pavement. As he does, the brunette and hennaed girl jump down from their perches on the muscle car and step on the kid's hands. A grunt escapes him, and he winces with pain. "Come on, just reach up and hand it to me. Not rocket science, you know." In an instant, the other girls have swarmed the kid. His own books are scattered in the melee. Punches and kicks rain down on him from all directions. The kid dissolves under the blows, real and projected alike. The blonde girl has observed all this with a smirk. After a moment, she jumps down from the car and steps forward to what could be the stage's edge. She leans out into the dark. Doing so, it is as if her face passes through a magnifying lens. In close-up, her giant eyes scrutinize the audience with curiosity. Drawn back slightly, the rest of her outsized adolescent features settle into a knowing and very cheeky expression. Glossy pink lips purse thoughtfully for a moment. Then she addresses the spectators directly. "More diva, less dork. I know, right?" An appreciative cheer goes up from the audience as the tableau fades rapidly to black. Lights come up to reveal the 3 principal bullies standing over their still prone victim. They are live actors who take quick bows and rush off into the dark wings. 3 longer vignettes, also humiliation-themed, follow in casual succession. A Boy Scout gets demoted to Cub Scout by his older sister and her girlfriends. A husband is ridden from chore to chore by his wife clad in equestrian gear. A middle-aged salaryman is reduced to servicing his female colleagues and cleaning the women's restroom. The final blows are landed, final bows taken, the genteel applause is dying away. Lance leans across to ask what they think. Hell of a home theater, eh? The tightly directed admixture of live actors and screened projections has been near seamless. The room is softly illuminated now. Michaela is looking over the well-dressed guests, mostly men, a pair of fabulously attired ladies, jewels, furs. The kitschy high-tech kink was not the kind you'd find on clips for sale. Higher production values, that's for sure. The audience looked as if they'd just seen something fancy at the Met. Jims is on his feet, thanking them all for coming, encouraging their staying on for drinks and hijinks. He smiles. Michaela suspects some kind of swinger setup and only breathes relief when Lance and Jims lead their foursome's direct and discreet exit. Chapter 20. Dick is reworking his resume. He has little inspiration for the job, and even less idea where he is going to shop it once the thing resembles a credible commendation of his abilities. Morning sun filters into his living room and home office. An experiment. The blackout shades came down when he signed away his rights to Michaela's management. He could never fend off Lance Alberti. It's time to let the world in. And get out more too. Diversify. Trouble is, his world vision is funneled down to a sadly pornographic perspective. He hasn't even saved the new resume before his mind veers off on a gratification tangent. Cheap and sleazy would be fine. Genuinely amateur is best. Too many hours, months, and years now since he's looked away from the screen in earnest. Too long since he's found satisfaction in life's less tawdry enticements. His scrawny arms and chest muscles are killing him after 3 push-ups. Musty and dusty, the topography of unvacuumed shag carpeting beckons him down to rest. But he has to push himself, tough it out. Surely he can do 10 push-ups? At 7, he collapses onto the carpet's funk. Maybe a run then. He dons short pants for the first time in months and heads up the street at a jog. Basically, he's at a loss what else he can do. At least keep himself fit and ready for the next big thing. Healthy body, healthy mind, maybe? Fuzzy thinking. Everything he starts, he aborts. Each time he fixes on a worthwhile endeavor, within minutes, sometimes seconds, his mind wanders, usually ending up in realms of high-def humping and pumping. The air scorches his lungs. The keys and credit card he poked into his waistband as an afterthought are gouging into his flesh as he approaches the coast road. His legs have gone leaden before he spots the first shallow dunes. He makes a mental note to walk this far next time, start his run out on the beach. Yoga and meditation are supposed to work, but that shit costs plenty. Even rent is going to be an issue this month. Alberti hasn't acknowledged his sacrifice. It seems all of Fort Pierce looks the other way and whistles as he passes by. Brandy Flegel appears to be doing just that when she thinks better of it, and turns to address him. He's still a little wobbly in the knees from his exertion and stumbles in the sand at the sound of her voice. "Hey, Dick, where the hell's Michaela these last couple days?" "Well, I'm not sure, actually. I'm not really handling her anymore." "That's funny." He shakes his head and gives a little shrug and a "huh?" expression, looking up from the sand to where she leans on the railing of the beach's best bar terrace. "Oh, never mind. Just tell her to call if you see her." Dick absorbs the snub, remains awkwardly unoccupied below the terrace rail until Brandy turns to greet someone at a nearby table. Then he scuttles off up the beach, goes into the dive, and takes a little bite out of next month's rent at the bar. Unlit and uncleaned, the dive is the last of old Fort Pierce left on the shoreline. Whitewashed cinder blocks, rust-red corrugated tin roof, two windowless apertures open onto sandlot parking, then the ocean. From the dark inside there is no view. The regulars keep the two bright rectangles of beach at their backs. Hateful Hazel is just getting warmed up, haranguing Pete the barman with her negligent husband's latest neglect. Everyone knows this has to have been at least 2 years ago, when the sucker lost his boat to Hazel in the settlement, cut his losses, and disappeared inland. But everyone also knows better than to interrupt, or God forbid, contradict, Hateful Hazel. After an hour or more, Dick latches on to an obvious Canadian he overhears complaining about a place in town. Dick knows the scenario all too well. You can't use a restroom without a paid reservation this time of year. It's sick. What fucking skin is it off their asses anyway? Really? Well, you just gotta out-hospitality 'em. Dick looks at the Canadian for signs of comprehension. The kid's not registering the remark for the valuable advice it represents. His smile is not convincing. Dick tries again. When the smile comes on, you go double wide smile yourself. The demonstrator's smile is truly grotesque in its ferocity. And when they start with the big welcome and the big sweeping invitation, you're ready. Here he goes into pantomime, turning hands inward to his own chest, indicating himself with a gleeful, unbelieving look. You see, like the fucktard has just handed you a drink, invited you to swim in his pool, and screw his wife. Then you remember something urgent. Dick jabs a forefinger up in the air, the universal "just a minute" gesture. And you just blow past him to the restrooms. I was trying to get a table, actually. Not too drunk to feel the disappointment of having misread the Canadian, Dick's face goes genuinely crestfallen. It had taken determined efforts to perfect his strategy for accessing toilets without buying anything. He has this sickening feeling. His social equity is still plummeting. What once upon a time constituted this equity has become so abstract it's depressing. He drinks off the bottom third of his Bacardi and 7 in one long, mournful suck on the straw. The Canadian, noting Dick's dejected lapse into silence, offers to buy him another. God's tender mercies. Several hours later, Dick has careened down the road to Port St. Lucie, washed up by a tide of heedlessness to snag on one last bar stool, he knows not where. The room is in transition, patrons eating giving way to patrons strictly drinking. An open mic replaces the karaoke machine. The hyperactive host could be a woman, but her features are as blurred as her spiel seems slurred. Dick floats, tentative on the room's currents, buffeted by bursts of applause, befuddled by red, white, and blue neons in the dark. The host has vanished into a clattering of hands when Dick is suddenly jerked out of his slow, drunken drowning. The voice is deep and vibrant at once. It snaps into focus from the room's general slurry of sounds. "This is for Michaela." The rest comes out of the night like a revelation. "Brain-dead man, you haven't noticed the writing on the wall. Can't feel her eyes on me. Can't see you are invisible. Head up your ass, man. It's in the zeitgeist. A new order of things. Can't read the bold print on your way out? If you even get a look in, you'll be under the gun. You're making the bed you used to lie in. Just deserted cuckold bitch. You just met your maker and missed it. Vengeance. Her name is Michaela." Dick is struggling down from his bar stool, head suddenly much cleared. He's not crazy, not even so drunk anymore. This is no quarter clarion. It's actually dedicated to Michaela. He is finally free of his stool and moving inexorably toward the stage. Yeah, that was Teddy. Big hand for Teddy now. Squinting through the bar traffic, Dick can make out very little of the stage. A couple of times he's glimpsed a gleaming microphone stand, a white sheet of paper thrust out toward the crowd. With the word vengeance, the sheet had sailed up into the air. It flew up, then swung back down to earth in 3 big arcs. Dick has lurched most of the way now to the stage when he stumbles into a waitress. Fallen to his knees, he is searching for the white page where it has come to rest under a free chair. Now he's buoyed up and propelled through the crowd in a bouncer's embrace. Things recede back into booze, murk, and confusion. He lands awkwardly on the pavement outside the bar's loading doors. Chapter 21. Dick saw Brandy again at the apex of his hangover. Somehow, walking 15 miles through the night maybe, he'd made it back from Port St. Lucie by morning. He was dozing in a doorway, legs splayed onto the sidewalk. They were an angry hue of sunburn under a patina of grime. Brandy half tripped over one of his feet, waking him with a start. "Dick, what the fuck?" "Oh, hey, Brandy. Sorry, rough night, you know." "Yeah, whatever. Get it together. Get a job or something." Dick squints up at Brandy's face. Her bustier and miniskirt are of some kind of beaded baby blue material that sparkles painfully in his eyes. "Funny you should mention that, actually. Don't suppose you got anything you need fixing around the house? Cleaning, maybe?" "You're kidding, right?" "No, really. I was even out on that casual labor line. Nothing." "So what? You're like one of those stinky, filthy homeless guys now? Will work for food? Well, that's attractive. Really? That's where you're at?" No. I mean, I just can't get paid. And obligations, you know. And hey, I'll work like a slave, really. Whatever you need." "Still sounds like work for food to me. Sorry, handyman. You smell like dog shit." Dick looked up the street and back down at his feet. Brandy laughed. "I can't fucking believe it. Kayla showed me all that dumbass shit you had her looking at online. Too fucking sad. You want to be my house bitch now? Pfft, take a freaking bath." She's off up the sidewalk before he can even respond. "Well, I'll come around," he manages, just before she's out of earshot. Her head falls forward as if with the burden of this suggestion. She's still moving off, her sparkly blue butt and bustier receding. One hand goes up reluctantly, the wrist twitches back and forth, once in a whatever gesture. By 4 o'clock, he slept for a few hours, showered, shaved, and made his way over to Brandy's condo building. Sometime after 5, Brandy parks her Lexus SUV next to her neighbor's Audi SUV. Dick gets up off the steps as soon as he spots her arriving. She doesn't acknowledge his presence until she's crossed the lot and walked up almost to him. "Here, actually, here. The shrimp dick little dictator. Hates women 'cause he never gets any. But here you are, begging for odd jobs and actually looking pleased about it." I don't hate women." She looked at him until his mouth was opening again, this time even more hesitantly. "Oh, don't even. I'm sure there are a few that hate you." "All right, let's go then, bitch. Do your bitch thing." Brandy opens the door and Dick follows her across the polished tile threshold. She looks around, then shakes her head. "I don't know. The maid does a pretty good job around here." Maybe you could do her place. She's probably too tired by the end of her day." "Hey, maybe I could detail your car or something." "Just stay the fuck away from my car. And ditto the bedroom. There's some cleansers and shit under the sink in the kitchen. Get what you need to scrub the concrete out on my patio. It's getting grimy and there are stains. 5 minutes later, Dick has a bucket of hot, soapy water poured, and he's off working a stiff brush industriously over the concrete patio. Half an hour later after that, his exertions and the unrelenting afternoon sun have him sweat-soaked and sore all over. He's actually removed every discolored patch on that patio. Sitting back on his haunches, he sighs, drags the back of one hand across his sweaty brow, closes his eyes, and feels the sun punishing his back. Wow, for such a desperate bitch, you don't work too hard, Dick. Just catching a breather, Brandy. What do you think? Looks good, huh? Brandy seems to ignore him. She walks up and down the patio's length in a white bikini and a low-heeled pair of mules to match. She comes back to where Dick is trying to look casually competent. He's still on one knee, elbow on the other knee, eyes scanning back and forth over his work. Looks good, right? Brandy plants a petite white mule before him and tilts her foot back to bring the sole up. I don't know, bitch. Check the bottom of my shoe. Is it clean? Yeah, looks good. Bitch, you can't even see it from there. Get down and take a good look. Dick gives a nervous little laugh. Brandy, I'm not really into feet or anything. No? And do I give a fuck? I thought all you bitch types had a thing for feet, but do I care? No. Is it in any way important to me what you like? Hell no. What's important is you do what I told you. You're all like, oh, Brandy, I'll work like a slave for you. Well, get with the program, bitch. Dick's neck is getting sore from looking up at Brandy where she stands, hands on hips, waiting. After a second, he smiles apologetically, shrugs his shoulders, and spreads his hands. What? You got nothing? Forgot the question? Here, let me help you. She removes her mule, holds it out with the sole 6 inches from Dick's face. So, is it clean? Well, there's some specks on it. Oh, so it's dirty. I walk on the patio you're supposed to have just cleaned and my shoes get dirty. What? What? What's that look about? You wondering about getting paid now, huh? You do a shit job and you're thinking about your money. You do a shit job and you can't understand why I'm pissed. Brandy flips the shoe over and raps him once on the top of his head with the heel. Dick squeals and shrinks from her. There's your pay, bitch. That's your reward. Knocked on the head with my dirty shoe. Do I want your sorry ass around here at all? I don't think so. Am I gonna pay you to be here? Are you stupid? Kayla ran down all the kinds of fool slave there are out there. All the great ways to exploit them slaves. I said financial dom. That's me. Queen bee. All my drones working away to pay my bills. That I can do. I don't need a dumbass house, bitch. Just get the fuck out of here. She stares down at Dick, and the fool is actually grinning back up at her. He makes it back up to his feet, and his smile breaks wide and true. Wow, Brandy, you are amazing. You're a natural at this. I had no idea. But now I do. Hey, why not let me set you up a website? I mean, I can't even spring for a domain name right now, but if you wanted to, we could have the Bank of Brandy up and receiving deposits in no time. Dick, Kayla hasn't exactly given you a glowing review, you know. Oh, come on. I know she doesn't hate me. I mean, what's to hate? What I was trying to do with her is pretty complicated. You got the fight part, the erotic side, the staging, camera, and everything. On top of all that, the web stuff. And with pretty well zero budget. But I did get her noticed, right? I hooked her up with some hot shot producer. She could be the next big thing any day now. All right. Here's a 20. Make it happen. Impress me. Dick's eyes open wide, mouth gaping to match. $20? I mean, the name on the domain costs $16. on its own. Yeah, the other 4 is for my floor. Now it's drying, it doesn't look so bad. Oh my God, you are going to do serious business when we get this thing going. But I really will need, a little something just to get us up and started. Yeah, fine. Take that half a pizza in the box on the kitchen counter there. Chapter 22. Michaela sinks in up to her ears when she takes the overstuffed leather wingback chair Jim's streetheart offers her. They are in the drawing room of the streetheart's mansion. Lance and the Edge are in similar seats either side of her. Jim's is preparing a pitcher of drinks at a carved mahogany sideboard. The elaborate symmetry worked out in an exquisite Turkish carpet at their feet is almost lost in the room's dimness. At the far end of the carpet's plush expanse, Jim's hums a tune and ice clinks merrily upon crystal. His ancestors glower from somber portraits on the walls. Michaela, I am most anxious to know your impressions. Please, what did you think of our little entertainment? Well, I'm no Roger Ebert, but I'd give you the thumbs up. You could be on to something here. I don't know what else is out there, but this sure looked state-of-the-art to me. Yes, in some respects technology certainly helps things along, but did you experience any negative associations, as it were? Were you bothered at all by depictions, portrayals of any of the women? You mean, were they convincing? Oh, absolutely. Why not? I'd have been up there having a ball if it were me. Oh, but that is not the exalted stage we'd like to see you command. While Jim's takes a thoughtful turn about the room's periphery, Michaela leans over to whisper at the Edge. Come on, fess up. We're in a B-movie, right? I'm the astronaut these simpletons on Planet X have mistaken for their moon goddess. Right? The Edge suppresses his amusement. Alberti, with a satisfied sigh, has been looking up at the ornate chandelier dimly glimmering above them. He claps his hands twice. The room remains a dusky shade of faux 19th century gentility. I keep telling Lance the clapper was an innovation of pointless convenience. And I always reply that his forefathers probably clapped their asses off. Then I usually remind him of my family's being 3 parts English, 2 parts Maltese, and nary a sheik or sultan among us. It's a running joke, but one perhaps getting a little tired. You want a really good joke? Try getting any more light out of that little brass panel of buttons over there by the retired dumbwaiter. They're made of bakelite. I know. I'd never heard of bakelite either. Because they haven't manufactured the shit in about a century. You can sprain a finger pushing those spring-loaded little bastards. But Jim's refuses to acknowledge that he lives in a museum. A matter of priorities. Among other things, I fancy myself a bit of an environmentalist. All the switches, the dumb waiter, and many other quality features of this home were all salvaged. Convenience for the sake of convenience represents an indefensible squandering of our technological prowess. We are tool users, from Cro-Magnon man on down. I don't suppose my little home theater qualifies as a museum piece, now does it? An ever greater sophistication of pleasure, now that merits the latest bells and whistles. The return to gynarchy. I can't imagine a better use for cutting-edge holographics. And the dumbwaiter, by the way, is in perfect repair. Jim's crosses the room, silver platter carrying 4 glasses held aloft, busy bistro server style. He pauses by the panel of light switches. He punches 3 of them in succession, the distinct clack of each punctuating his speech. Concentric rings of bulbs within the chandelier come to life, illuminating the grand room with an incandescent warmth. And as for the noble bakelite, the stuff will outlast our brave new millennium. And now I believe we've concluded our... What is it? That charming expression of yours, Lance. Yes, our pissing match. Please, Michaela, forgive us exploiting your largesse. Time dictates we discuss matters more germane. Michaela has been getting tired of Streethart's elephantine vocabulary. She knows he's not talking about Germans, and she is pretty sure gynecology is not part of the conversation either. It'd be nice to just cut the bullshit. Well, don't mind me. I think you guys are cute. More like puppies tussling than any pissing match I've ever seen. But if that crack about my large ass was meant to move things along, I don't think you're going to like the direction I'm heading in. Oh, my goddess, no. Forgive me, please, largesse, your too generous spirit. Oh, I should prostrate myself. Jesus, I don't even want to know what that means. Y'all speak some funny-ass English up here, that's all I can say. Jims returns to the cluster of chairs in the room's center. He deftly drops the drinks tray to waist height and presents an immaculate quartet of mint juleps. When they each have a glass, Jims offers a toast. In my southern guest's honor, to life's simpler pleasures, and not so. They drink the toast, and there's a pause while each savors the sweet bourbon concoction. Lance breaks the little lull, turning to address Michaela. Jims has been hosting performances like we saw earlier on there for quite a while now, long before SM culture hit the mainstream. And for the 10 years that I've known Jims, I've been encouraging him to take his penchant for the perverse and take it to the next level. And thanks to you, Michaela, I think he might just be seeing the light tonight. Jims, smiling mischievously at Michaela, at Abiarty and the Edge, and again back at Michaela, nods his assent. A gross commercialization of something I've held dear all my life still does not interest me. But the revelation that someone so fetchingly aggressive as yourself, Michaela, that you could benefit personally, directly from my impresario's knack, well, you've turned my head. I have seen the light, but I claim no prescience in this. A general glamorization of female supremacy has been in the zeitgeist for at least the decade that Lance refers to. Oh, Jims is going to put Toronto on the map, Michaela. Toronto the Good, Toronto the Grey, cynics would reply, is about to adopt an altogether new identity. The new Toronto will be a tower of female supremacy, eh, Jims? And there is the ineluctable core of our purpose. Lance mentioned sadomasochism earlier. SM. I probably winced. I always do. From the Willendorf mother goddess through Aphrodite and every genuine female deity since, I have been a worshipper at the shrine of womanhood my entire life. SM culture has nothing to do with it. Feminism much less. Women do not require empowerment. They are the embodiment of power. You, gracious Michaela, embody that power. What is needed is an end to the empowerment of men. We are not endowed with the wisdom to wield power. Men are children in the grand scheme of things. We are patently poor custodians. Analyze me as they will. Call me, what is it, Lance? Batshit crazy. Yes, delightful term. Yet I believe every word I say. Michaela was feeling over-theorized even before this last little speech. But hey, the juleps are top-notch. She and the Edge have shared some raised eyebrow moments and the occasional nudge to shut each other up, giggling. But apparently the other two aren't actually fucking with her. Jims, at least, is obviously convinced she can shit golden apples. So, okay, women are superior. How bad can that be? She'll think it through a little later. For now, she's waiting for the catch. The long view is a little too vague for there to be no catch. Whatever these two are actually cooking up, surely there's money in it somewhere. If it means enduring their groveling, well, a goddess must just learn to accept her tributes graciously. We haven't spooked you, I hope, Michaela. As perfect as you appear, I am merely going on intuition here, a capacity we men have in pitiful supply. Oh, no, I'm with you. I've been asking what America can do for Michaela for years. You Canadians are smarter than we give you credit for. So, come on, Lancebiardi, let's hear some details. Toronto's gonna make me rich or something, right? Ha! The beauty of true deity, lads, stooping to conquer. The rapture on Jim's face would make her laugh if the earnest delusion behind it weren't so palpable. Lance's nutty nodding and grinning seems to express his own brand of devotion. I was going to start in L.A., Hollywood, actually. I only brought you up here to meet another of your greatest fans and to see the kind of base we can build from. But our goal is the same. World domination, Jims? There will be others to share your burden, Michaela, have no fear. But perhaps not so many in this next generation or two. Every woman possesses divinity, but as a civilization, our regression away from this realization means it may take years for most women to reclaim their supreme birthrights. Will you set the example, Michaela? Will you accept our slavish devotion in showing the world your divine strength and beauty? Well, does a bear shit in the woods? Slave away, my little minions, slave away. Michaela has bills to pay. She stoops again, Abiarti. I am smitten to the core. Make haste to your city of angels. Commence our campaign at once. I have never felt younger. Michaela, you are magic. To your powers, and to the healing a wayward world awaits. They tip up their drinks once more, and with an exaggerated nonchalance, Michaela allows Jims to refill her glass when she's done. The glass tilting negligently, a yawn forms in the contented grin she turns to the edge.